Well, this quote has never rung truer.
You read what others had done, and you took the next step. You didn't earn the knowledge for yourselves, so you don't take any responsibility for it. You stood on the shoulders of geniuses to accomplish something as fast as you could, and before you even knew what you had, you patented it and packaged it and slapped it on a plastic lunchbox, and now you're selling it.
That's impossible.
Hey, girl.
You look just like your mother.
I promise you, I am gonna get her back.
How's it going, guys? Welcome back to my channel and time for another episode of Luke's Reviews. On today's video, Universal are taking us on another prehistoric adventure, this time potentially the final one we may get in this series. This is my review for Jurassic World Dominion. Following the events of Fallen Kingdom, dinosaurs now live among us, and humans have had no choice but to adapt accordingly. Living far off in the wilderness is Owen, Claire, and their adopted daughter Maisie, who find that their paths are due to inexplicably cross with some familiar faces in the form of Doctors Alan Grant, Ellie Statler, and Ian Malcolm, all of whom are investigating Biosyn, a pharmaceutical company looking at using the dinosaurs for their own purposes. Okay, quick recap on where I stand with each of the Jurassic Park/World films. Jurassic Park, one of the greatest movies ever made. It is a cinematic masterpiece. The Lost World Jurassic Park. It's a considerable step down, but it has its fair share of great moments. Jurassic Park 3. Pretty dumb, but it knew what it was, and I'll be honest, I find it entertaining. Jurassic World. The closest the series has come to matching the original. I loved it. And Fallen Kingdom. It completely fell off the wagon. It was overstuffed and overcomplicated itself. So with Colin Trevorrow returning to write and direct this final film, if I'm being totally honest, I was a little mixed going in because of how far I had really fallen off with this series given the events of Fallen Kingdom. And unfortunately, and this really does pain me to say it, but Jurassic World Dominion might just be the worst one yet. Not to put too fine a point on it, but I honestly do not know what it is trying to accomplish here. For practically 2/3 of a 2.5 hour long film, you have two stories brutally crammed into one movie. And they are left playing a just horrendous game of tug of war, trying to compete for dominance. On one hand, you've got Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard's character who are hopping over to Malta in what I can only describe as when the movie just stops being a Jurassic Park or World film and ends up becoming a spy thriller full of double crosses and undercover agents. It does. And this movie features dinosaurs. And you don't want to use them. And then, turning the attention to the returning Sam Neill, Laura Dern, and Jeff Goldblum, they're off investigating this big company, Biosyn, because of locusts. You heard that right, folks. Locusts. Not dinosaurs. Not even the charm of seeing the OG legacy characters back together on screen is enough to get you through what is, quite honestly, a slog of a movie. It seems that Trevorrow and his crew just haven't learned from the mistakes that they made in Fallen Kingdom. We don't want to see shady business moguls and business meetings of them discussing how we're going to exploit these dinosaurs for our own personal gain. The simplicity of Jurassic Park, albeit its technical brilliance, but the simplicity of Jurassic Park was that you had characters on an island where dinosaurs had broken loose and they have to survive. That, at its core, was what Jurassic Park was about. Not conglomerate companies swooping in and trying to exploit it. We know that that is probably what would happen in the real world, but necessarily what happens in the real world doesn't always make great films. We come to a Jurassic Park or world movie to see dinosaurs and people running from them, probably getting eaten in the process. Having ambition is never a bad thing. I do want to stress that. But when your ambition is woefully misplaced, like it has been, especially for these final two films, that's when I'm not even angry. I'm that typical, I'm not angry, I'm just immensely disappointed. And I think I'm even more so disappointed because the premise this time round it's just so ripe for the taking. The dinosaurs aren't just loose in a park, they're loose across the globe. There is so much that you can do with that. And the film doesn't even want to focus on it. And for crying out loud, Michael Giacchino, I love you, but would it kill you to include just any part of John Williams' work here? That's another factor that helped make Jurassic Park so iconic, especially as this is meant to act as a conclusion to the Jurassic World trilogy and the Jurassic Park series as a whole. There's no fanfare once. There's little hints towards it, almost like little teases, but then it never kicks in. Why? Why? At this point, the films, especially this one, have strayed so far away from what made the first so impactful. Gone are the days where audiences are going to be awestruck about seeing dinosaurs on screen, realistic looking ones too. And that is a shame, but Universal Studios and Colin Trevorrow and all of his screenwriters seem so caught up in this cloning and genetic angle, and it doesn't work. It is unfathomably boring. My screening was full of families, and the amount of kids that were clearly so bored and fidgeting and in some cases quite agitated that this film didn't have any real kind of dinosaur action, that they were discussions about genetics and should we interfere. I understand that part of Jurassic Park's success is that conversation about should man interfere to this level, but at least that conversation is interesting, and that's something that when you're older you can appreciate the film a bit more, and then when you're a bit younger you're wowed by dinosaurs interacting on screen. There is none of that here. The best analogy that I can give is, say when you go into like a maths exam and you're presented with a question that you know is going to require a lot of working out and you have to show you're working. But the problem is that you make a mistake very early on. And rather than acknowledging that you've made a mistake or even noticing that you have made a mistake, you carry on with your method. And no matter what equations you may put into this to get an answer, that answer is always going to be wrong because you made a mistake right at the very beginning. There are some positives. There aren't many, but there are some. The performances are all okay. I was a lot more invested in the returning characters than Bryce Dallas Howard's and Chris Pratt's, and even some new faces that pop up as well. And I think it's important to share that these aren't just cameos. They do have integral roles in this film. Also, there's a very healthy balance between CGI and practical animatronics, and I think it really, really works this time. This is probably the best blend that we've had since the first one, so look, it's got that going for it. And by the third act, these two competing storylines do clumsily come together, and there is a little bit of that survival aspect that this film so desperately needed, but it was much too little and far too late. Jurassic World Dominion was such a disappointing way to conclude this series. Excluding the first of the Jurassic World trilogy, this and Fallen Kingdom feel so far removed from its ancestors that they are connected in name only. The story never focuses, never makes its intentions clear, and never finds its footing. It actually hurts to say this, considering how near and dear to my heart the original is, but it is most definitely time that this series stays extinct. I'm going to give Jurassic World Dominion a 3.5 out of 10. Anyway guys, those were my thoughts on Jurassic World Dominion. Let me know, have you had a chance to see the film yet? What did you think? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And my question to you, I want to know, what is your favourite Jurassic Park or World film besides the original? Let's face it, the original will always be number one, and I think if it isn't, you're certainly unique. That's all I'll say. But yeah, what's your favourite? Let me know. But that is all we have time for today. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Hello, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have, make sure to click that like button. And if you aren't already, click that subscribe button too.